Morning and welcome to part 5 of the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act. We have covered this act in four parts at this point of time. We have covered introduction, background, and legislative journey, trigger for creating the EU AI Act, case study on the triggers for creating the act, key objectives of the act, and features of the act. We also covered scope and applicability, impact and significance. Then we approached the risk based classification of AI systems, how it is been classified. We have looked at the definition of unacceptable risk. We have understood what prohibited AI system means as per chapter 3 2 sorry article 5. We are now aware of its applicability from 2nd February 2025. We have looked at the case studies related to prohibited AI systems. Then we looked at high risk AI systems, chapter 3, article 6. We have looked at case studies that illustrate what an high risk AI systems are. We have looked at the risk based classification of AI systems. We have looked at the role of European Commission. We have looked at high risk AI system, chapter 3, article 8 to 17. We have tried to understand what a general purpose AI is as per chapter 5 of that. We have looked at case studies for GPAI. We have looked at chapter 5, article 51, 52, and 53 of GPI. We have also looked at why compute power is referenced in the act as per article 51. We have looked at multiple case studies with one objective so that the act is clearer. So when you are going for implementation, you have clarity of thought as to how it should look like, or better understanding of the interpretation. Let's look at now the challenges of implementing the act. Implementing the EU AI Act presents several challenges for organizations, especially those operating in regulated industries or deploying high risk AI systems. The first one is risk classification complexity. Organization must assess whether their AI systems falls under the high risk, limited risk, unacceptable risk category. The ambiguity in definition and edge cases can make classification difficult and error prone. While true, I think the examples that I have given in this series might help you in some way, but I would highly recommend you have a reference sheet of the EU Act with you and try to map it on the table. You might be accurate in most cases. In case of rarity wherein you are not sure, the thumb rule is put it at a higher side of it, which means if you are in doubt whether it is high risk or unacceptable risk, I would recommend you put it at unacceptable. The idea behind that is once it goes for review, it can come down if it is not so when the review happens. But if it is not done so, you might have planned out all your strategies around a lower category and you have invested on the controls as such, but later on you find it as no, it requires higher one, then there is a reinvention of the wheel that would have to be done. Painful once in production. So be ruthless in your assessment. When in doubt, go for the higher end. The next one is the regulatory uncertainty during transition. Now, this is something which is beyond your control. The act will be rolled out in phases, which is in play. Companies, organizations may struggle to align with the evolving guidelines, enforcement mechanism, and timelines while still investing in AI innovation. Now, that's a fact on the table, but the idea here is when you started this work, take the latest copy of the AI Act. Do speak to experts and SMEs who are already in this. If required, organization or a consultant who has recently implemented this for any organization or a consultant who is in this business of implementation so that they know what's the latest. So the idea here is you don't have to reinvent the wheel or change the strategy later on. It's expensive. So better to measure 5 times before you cut once. So have a thought on that. The next one is lack of AI governance structure. Now, Many companies lack the mature internal AI governance framework to evaluate, control, and monitor AI system throughout the life cycle, which is a core requirement of the AI Act. For large organizations who are already in this deep, might not have so much of a challenge. Still, a challenge might be there, but these are generally would be for organizations who are yet to start, yet to catch up, or have not prioritized this as per their current business plan. I would highly recommend don't touch this space if you don't have structure. Don't roll out literally. The penalties, as you know, is quite heavy, very stringent, has a serious impact on reputation if you're on the negative side of the law. So rather touch it if you can afford it. Otherwise, don't enter the territory. But knowing the knowing what's happening in the industry, no escape route. You have to go through some form of AI implementation within your organization. In that case, put the structure first, plan your structure, and then go for the actual implementation. You don't want to invest and then regret it later on. It's expensive from time and money perspective. Next one is the high documentation burden. This is something which is a non-negotiable, as you have seen in the past narratives sessions that I have taken. Documentation is spread all across for anything and everything that you do around this space. The AI Act mandates comprehensive documentation for high-risk AI systems, including technical files, data logs, transparency report, and audit trails, which may overwhelm smaller organizations. Now, I would recommend get your automation team in play. Many of the documentation, technical documentation or otherwise, try to see if there is a mechanism where these can be captured automatically where possible. Definitely, the data logs can be captured auto. Enable this, so it reduces your workload. Audit trails automated, reports automated. Uh, this is how you save your time and energy. Otherwise, it will be overwhelming. Now, while smaller organization will struggle to have that resources, manpower, hence automation is be key in most cases. The larger organization will not have it easy either. The larger organization, more documentation, bigger technical documentation, huge amount of data logs would be generated because of the size of the implementation. So it doesn't spare anyone. I would recommend go for as much automation in this space. Of course, you'll have an oversight for validation and checks and balances. That would be a smarter way of managing the documentation space. The next one is data quality and bias mitigation. You have to ensure data sets are high quality, representative, and free from bias. It's technically and operationally challenging, I agree. Organization must implement robust data governance practice to comply. Now, this is a space which you dedicate your controls team. Make the controls, it's a recommendation, but you might have a better idea. Get your controls team to do this quality analysis, controls team to put the controls in place through your risk team discussion, so that you have a dedicated space which is managing this vetting. Next is explainability and transparency requirement, providing clear explanation on how AI systems make decisions, especially for complex machine learning models. A significant technical and communication challenge. Now, this is a space which I would highly recommend should be tasked with the AI developers or the organization from where you are getting the system. Make it mandatory, no negotiation, because this is ideally a one time or big work is when, when you procure it or implement it or install it. That's your 90% of it. Post that in your contract, if it is an external vendor who is providing you with the system, any change, any modification, any update, any upgrade, the first would be getting the explanation and the documentation prior before it is implemented, and immediately after implementation getting your controls team to do the quality check from bias mitigation perspective, error free data, all of these need to be in place. So explainability and transparency, I would place the onus on the developer or the vendor who is providing you with the system. Make it completely as part of your agreement, mandatory as part of your agreement. with clauses of penalties in case they miss. You remember, if they miss, you are going to pay the penalty to the regulator. Hence, ensure your documentation and agreement with the vendor who is providing you the system is covering you from that risk. Next is human oversight implementation. AI system must allow for human controls or intervention. Designing process and interface to enable this oversight effectively without undermining performance is a major hurdle. Now, this is a place where you, as an organization who is implementing it, need to have a clear conversation by the team or a different organization which is providing with the AI system on how you will have an oversight. Get it documented. Basically, in the whole process, you need to have critical control points where human intervention is mandatory. Embed it into the system. The look and the feel of the whole process should not be that it is a fire and forget kind of a process. It should give confidence to the regulator that no matter which process you are implementing, there is a human oversight and control. So this gives an assurance on this aspect of the requirement. The next is compliance cost and resource constraint. Achieving compliance, especially for high-risk system, can incur substantial costs for legal, technical, and operational adjustment, disproportionately affecting the SMEs. Now, here is a point of caution. When an AI system or a system is implemented in an organization, it's generally looked at the benefit that you're getting out of this. Either time and money saved in the process, the time to the market might get reduced because of this implementation. That's why you are implementing an automation system, an AI system in this case. So while that could be a good business case study, the second aspect of that is what is the new business that I get because of this implementation. You would also have that in your business case study. But when you're implementing AI systems, your business case study should ensure that you also have factored in the huge overhead that comes with AI implementation. That's the conversation that we had till now. You realize the checks and balances that the AI Act expects from the organization who's implementing the AI. If you miss this cost, the legal cost, the cost of putting the controls, the cost of oversight, the cost of agreements, the cost of maintaining the whole compliance process on the full life cycle of that system, the organization will lose interest and it will become a white elephant. In order to avoid it, the team which is excited to implement the AI system might give the cost benefit from a new business perspective or cost save perspective. They might just not factor the cost of implementation and the cost of maintaining the system. And this is a very big cost. The team which wants to implement it, the business side of it, is the one which pays for it during the life of the system. Senior management or the board which approves this needs to ensure that this aspect of compliance cost and the cost associated with penalties and things are factored in the overall proposal. If not, this is rest assured going to bite the team on the organization which has not done, and it is going to bite because these are uncharted territories. Many of the things we don't know today. So in order to ensure that the whole experience is controlled, factor this in your project plans. The next is monitoring and post-market surveillance. Companies need mechanism for ongoing monitoring of AI system once deployed, including adverse event reporting. This requires new capabilities and workflows. Again, this is a cost to the organization that is going to implement it. So please factor it in your project plans. Supply chain and third-party dependencies. If organization integrate third-party AI solutions, they must ensure that those systems also comply with the Act. This increases due diligence and contractual complexity. The legal team specializing in this Act need to be set up if not there, or a desk dedicated for AI related conversation would be needed for at least the initial stages, maybe 12 to 36 months, till the time system is running, the laws are getting evolved, and till the time it stabilizes. Currently it's in play, but we can't say it has stabilized because the systems and this implementation are new. People are learning, organizations are learning, regulators are learning. So you should expect amendments and very fast amendments for the initial learning curve. Hence, as the amendments take place, the organization would be expected to turn their ship. Having a solid legal team specializing in this, having a good risk management team specializing in AI, controls team who understand this concept, management and the board need to have a very sharp eye on this space so that you have a smoother ride with the implementation. Next is adapting legacy systems. Many AI applications were developed before the Act's announcement. Now that's a reality. Most of the organizations would have this in their game. Retrofitting the systems to meet new regulatory requirement could be time consuming and costly. Now this would be a challenge in most cases. Hence you might have to have a plan how this would be retrofitted to the Act's requirement, if not already. The next is integration with other frameworks. Organizations may already comply with GDPR, DORA, ISO standards, or industry specific framework. Harmonizing this with AI Act obligation can be a legal and operational maze. Now, that's going to be a challenge for any organization. The larger the organization, the bigger would be a problem. This multiple framework. In some cases, organization might have taken bits and pieces of all of the processes that are available, all standards that is there, frameworks, best of all, and mixed it so much that in that mix now you're adding the Act's requirement. It's going to be a nightmare. The recommendation here is get the SMEs from each area who manages the current GDPR, DORA, ISO standards or other standards. Get a lead in that who's accountable for ensuring all of these, and get the new guy for AI or one of these team members who's well averse of this act, and let them come out with a strategy how they are going to implement it. What is normally seen is they don't speak to each other in many cases, and the issue is now with the business. Now, this is going to be draining if this is how the work structure is. The business should not be disturbed by these regulations. The business should be focusing on the business aspect of it. The SME of all of these regulations should speak to a lead who is overall accountable for it and then come out with a suggestion as to what best the business has to do. Generally, the business would like to keep a person who is SME of GDPR, some of DORA, one of ISO, SOC, and so on and so forth, and it overwhelms the business. Doesn't help. It's recommended you have a head or a lead who understands and who comes to you with a summary on what's required for the business to do. That's how you run the shop. Otherwise, it would be a chaos. The next is talent and expertise shortage. There is a global shortage of professionals with combined legal, regulatory, ethical, technical expertise in AI, which complicates compliance planning and execution. It's a fact, but that's an investment that is required. Again, recommended in this case from a technical perspective. If you are getting an AI system, you'll get the technical guys anyways as part of. Where the businesses would struggle is getting the experts on the act who would like to speak to the business directly, not speak to the team managing the other regulations and guidelines. Make that guy speak to the organizations, other SMEs of GDPR, DORA, ISO, and so on and so forth. And one person, one head speaks to the business. So that would save the business from distraction, else you'll end up dealing with this pain. So I think that structure is something which the business should look at. A small business, definitely. A bigger business helps to keep that structure in place. Next is regulatory penalties and reputational risk. We discussed this. 35 million pounds or 7% of the global turnover. Now this is something which a reality with the act. When you are planning AI implementation, you have to factor the cost if the implementation do not follow. This should be there in your project plans. This should be part of your risk management conversation. Any new feature that you are enabling, check out from this perspective. This is your extreme end of the loss, 7% of global turnover. Can you afford it? If you cannot afford it, which is the case in all the 100% of the time, think through what are your controls. Is there a control? If there is no control, is it worth going for it? It might literally wipe out all that you have. Hence, keep this red and bold in your document. Every time a new feature comes in, check against this. What if this new feature, new functionality, new system fails? Can it? If in doubt, it will. So, what is the control that you are going to implement? So, that's a question that even the final authority of who approves the system to come into production, the board, if that is the case, should look at. From an ethical and social accountability perspective, the Act introduces obligations that goes beyond the legal compliance, such as respecting fundamental rights, aligning business goals, and these principles demand culture change and board level engagement. I think most of the good organizations would have this in place in other aspects. So, in that, this act should fit in. Organization with good ethical and social accountability standards should not have a challenge in this space. I assume that's what it is. Those which are yet to articulate this act mandates it to be in place. So in all the cases, it is a good indicator. It's a good section. Should be fairly easy or no effort in this case for large organization with this in place. Now let's look at the benefit of implementing the act. By complying with the ethical and safety standards, organizations build greater trust with customers, regulators, and the public, establishing themselves as responsible AI developers. The Act encourages organizations to proactively identify, assess, and mitigate AI related risk, which leads to more robust and resilient systems. Early adoption of AI Act requirement positions organization ahead of competitors in terms of readiness, especially when dealing with high risk AI systems in regulated sectors. Now, this is one part which organization which is procuring the AI system need to be conscious of. In an enthusiasm of creating a first AI system or a new product on AI, the developer might not necessarily follow or have all the controls in place. An organization which wants to be ahead in the game, in the enthusiasm, might take it and implement it. This is a risk that organization should be conscious of. Since the penalty of this act is severe, the recommendation is pause, ensure your due diligence, ensure people signing the agreement, contract with the new product developer or organization have all the checks in place. Else, in the pursuit of being first in the market, you might also be the first to be penalized. Hence, it's prudent to be cautious rather than regret it. So, as I said earlier, measure 5 times, cut once. The AI Act provides a clear legal framework for deploying AI in the EU, reducing uncertainty and enabling long term strategic planning for AI product development. Compliance drives organization to improve data practice, ensuring data quality, integrity, and privacy, benefiting not only AI system but all data driven operations. So that's from a better data governance perspective. That's the benefit that we get. By following robustness and accuracy requirement, organization create AI models that perform better and fail less often in real world conditions. Reliability is something that need to be factored in. The Act encourages the setup of internal policy, roles, and responsibility for managing the AI, enhancing transparency and internal accountability. Shareholders, partners, and consumers are more likely to engage with and invest in organizations that follow ethical and legally compliant AI practices. Do note, while this is a definite benefit, gives an edge, but it can easily get eroded if while onboarding all facts and details are not checked because the repercussions are severe. Hence, it's required to be cautious so that once in, it is actually a booster for your business. The next is alignment with global standards. Implementing the AI Act helps organizations align with emerging global AI standards and regulations, easing the international expansion. Yes, from a context, with the proper implementation of AI Act within the organization, it helps the organization to penetrate this region, and anyone whom you are trading with or partnering with would be comfortable the moment you are aligned and you have all the checks and balances in place so they know the organization can be trusted. Providing explanation for AI driven decisions builds end user understanding. It helps reduce friction and minimize disputes or dissatisfaction. From an ethical perspective, the framework supports innovation that is not only technologically advanced but also aligned with human rights, democratic values, and societal well being. So, this is from the ethical innovation perspective. Demonstrating compliance with the AI Act can be a prerequisite for accessing public tenders, cross border market, or certain private sector partnership in EU. Now, this is a space which can be used in your business plan when implementing a AI system. Compliance ensures that current AI system will not require costly redesign in future as laws and societal expectations evolve towards safer AI. Organizations with clear ethical and responsible AI framework are more appealing to professionals who value purpose driven work and corporate integrity. Compliance minimizes exposure to hefty fines, investigations, and legal dispute, protecting financial and reputational assets. Let's now look at the Code of Practice as defined in Article 56. Code of Practice Article 56 will account for international approach, will cover but not necessarily limited to obligations listed earlier, particularly the relevant information to include in the technical documentation for authorities and downstream provider, identification of the type and nature of systemic risk and their sources, and the modalities of risk management accounting for specific challenges in addressing risk due to the way they may emerge and materialize throughout the value chain. This is about providing a transparent view about the AI system that you have implemented. AI Office may invite GPAI model providers, relevant national competent authority, to participate in drawing up the codes, while civil societies, industry, academia, downstream providers, and independent experts may support the process. That's what is defined in the Code of Practice in Article 56. Let's look at governance as per Chapter 6. The AI Office will be established sitting within the Commission to monitor the effective implementation and compliance of GPAI model provider, Article 64. To remember the conversation we had on the role of the Commission, downstream providers can lodge a complaint regarding the upstream providers' infringement to the AI Office. The AI Office may conduct evaluation of the GPAI model as per Article 92, assess compliance where the information gathered under its power to request information is insufficient, investigate systemic risk, particularly following a qualified report from the scientific panel of independent experts as per Article 90. Let's look at the EU AI Act implementation risk matrix. So, from a risk classification perspective, the challenge around that, the suggestion is to establish an internal AI risk committee and use legal technical consultation to classify the AI system. On the regulatory aspect, it's about tracking regulatory updates and participate in industry forums for early insight. This is something which can be done by the team which is currently managing the regulatory aspect of the governance in your organization. We can add this task within those teams. The next is designate an AI compliance officer and develop governance framework. Now, this is a specialized role that need to be created till such time the AI system within your organization stabilizes and of course the AI Act stabilizes. Otherwise, it will consume a lot of time and energy for a lot of people in the management and the risk team. So having a compliance officer helps in the engagement. The requirement is also there to develop templates and workflows for documentation early in the AI development cycle. Early, what it means is the moment you are planning for any AI system to be implemented, before it gets implemented, get this workflow and the templates in place, vet it through your compliance officers and your experts, not after it is deployed. It might be too late, because if it is non-compliant, modifying, editing it might be more time consuming and might not yet result in compliance. So hence recommended before, not after. Implement rigorous data validation, bias testing, and review practice. Now, this is a space which has to be assigned to the controls function within the organization. Make them accountable for doing this specific part, because this is a critical, dedicated space. And with the complexity of the AI system, there would be a lot of learning curves. So, hence, a team dedicated for this should help, or have a system in place where maybe the vendor has this in place. That's an engagement that you'll have to agree prior to bringing the system on. Incorporate model interpretability tools and develop user-friendly explanation layer. Basically, this again boils down to articulation of your AI system, documentation, and when and as required, we should be able to reference that, explain it to the regulators when needed. So documentation here is the key. Design human in the loop process and ensure proper escalation and mechanism. Now, this is critical, and this is most effectively done when the system is being designed before deployment. In the designing phase, ensure that there is a human in the loop is embedded there, which means that the designers need to factor in the key areas, control areas, okay, control points wherein a human intervention is there, okay, or wherein there is an oversight, a decision is taken by a human at that point of time. uh, if not, then you might end up having few challenges about the working. So that's a that's a recommended approach. The next is about conducting a cost benefit analysis, prioritizing high risk system, and seek EU's innovation support grants. Now, this is something which is provided. That's what I understand. The specifics can be looked at the portal. Use automated monitoring tool and set up feedback loops for AI system in production. Need to conduct due diligence on vendor and include AI compliance clauses in the contract. We discussed this multiple times. Need to perform technical depth analysis and retrofit high risk legacy system with enough controls. Map existing compliance program and integrate the AI Act controls within it. Invest in cross-functional training program and partnership with academia. Conduct risk assessment and prepare response plans for non-compliance scenario. Now, this is before you bring the system into production. Embed ethics into product design and provide training to leadership and staff. Let's look at the summary of the EU Act's timelines. So it started off in 2024, 12 July, and the Act was published in the official journal of the European Union. 1st August, it's a date of entry into force of the AI Act. At this stage, none of the Act's requirement apply. 2nd November 2024, deadline for member state to identify and publicly list the authorities, bodies responsible for fundamental right protection, and to notify the Commission and other member states. The next is 2nd February 2025. Prohibition on certain AI systems starts to apply, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Do reference this video. You can pause and you can look at the specifics. 2nd May 2025. Code of practice shall be ready by this date. 2nd August. Following rules starts to apply. Penalty starts to apply from 2nd of August 2025. So be mindful. 2nd August 2025. GPI models that have been placed in the market before this date need to be compliant with the Act by 2nd August 2027. So all of those before 2nd August 2025 need to be compliant. We are given 2 years. From there onwards, we have this sequence. You can pause this video and can look at the very specific. Then it spills to 2026, 2nd Feb. This is a timelines for 2026. To take a notice, we have covered 2025 earlier. Now this is 2026. Similarly, 2027, there are certain deliveries. And then we move to 2028, 2029, and 2030. Finally, at this point of time, we have certain deliveries till 2031. We are in 2025 and we have clear guidelines till about 2031. So, any audience who is either associated with the act or will get associated need to be aware of these timelines. Do note, these timelines might have additional dates or might have slight changes or new timelines been set up. You have to be aware and be current with what has been there in the portal. So just be careful with that aspect. Now, in summary, let us look at the three type of systems that has been identified in the act: the unacceptable risk AI system, the high risk AI system, and the general purpose AI system. By definition, the unacceptable risk is AI system posing clear threat to safety like livelihood or rights. A high risk system is a system with significant risk in critical sector or function. The GPAI is AI system designed for general use and adapted for various applications. That's the definition. From a risk level perspective, unacceptable risk is prohibited. High risk systems are allowed with strict obligations. GPAI is regulated with transparency and compliance obligation. Examples of unacceptable risk: social scoring, real-time biometric information identification in public with exceptions, explosive systems. From a high-risk AI system, example is AI used for medical devices, credit scoring, recruitment AI, border control systems. From a GPAI perspective, the foundational model, large language model, AI used across multiple domains. From a legal status perspective, unacceptable risks are banned outright. High risk AI systems are permitted with compliances. The GPAI system is permitted with GPAI specific rules. From a main requirement perspective, unacceptable risk AI systems must not be placed on the EU market and strict enforcement of this. High risk AI systems, main requirement, we need to have risk management in place, data governance in place, clear documentation, a human oversight, and need to be having a sense of accuracy and robustness. The GPAI main requirement is documentation, risk mitigation for downstream use, code of conduct or compliance with GPAI obligations. Reference perspective, unacceptable risk AI system comes under Title 2, Article 5. High risk AI system comes under Annexure 3, Title 3, Article 6 to 51. The GPAI comes under Title 5, Chapter 5, Article 50 to 55. From enforcement perspective, the unacceptable risk AI system is immediate prohibition and penalties. It's immediate. High risk AI system subjected to marking, conformity assessment and audits. GPAI providers must cooperate with authority, maintain transparency. Obligated entities, unacceptable risk is providers, importers, deployers. High risk AI system, provider, deployer, users, notified bodies. GPAI model developers, developers for fine tuning or integration. Unacceptable risk AI system, the key focus is protection from harm. High risk AI system, mitigation of sector specific risk. GPAI, the key focus is transparency, documentation, and responsible downstream use. Hence, in conclusion, the EU Artificial Intelligence Act is the world's first comprehensive regulatory framework for artificial intelligence. It's designed to ensure that AI technologies used within European Union are safe, ethical, and aligned with the fundamental rights. Adopted in 2024, the Act introduces a risk-based approach, categorizing AI system into 4 tiers: unacceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk. The unacceptable risk AI system is such as social scoring, manipulative systems, or exploitive applications are banned outright. High risk AI systems, commonly used in areas like recruitment, credit scoring, law enforcement, and healthcare, are permitted but subjected to strict requirements related to risk management, data governance, human oversight, transparency, and cybersecurity. Limited and minimal risk systems face lighter obligations such as transparency disclosure for chatbots or AI generated content. The Act also includes dedicated provision for GPAI and foundation models such as large language models, requiring model documentation, safety testing, and obligation for downstream users. Importantly, the Act establishes the European Artificial Intelligence Office for centralized enforcement and oversight across member states. For boards, the EU AI Act necessitates strategic oversight for AI deployment, risk governance alignment, and investment in compliance capabilities. It emphasizes accountability, transparency, and ethics in AI strategy, placing legal and reputational consequences on non-compliance. Companies using or developing AI within the EU must ensure systems are compliant by design and regularly reviewed against the Act's evolving requirements. This Act sets a global precedence influencing AI governance worldwide. Thanks for being with me till now. We are now at the end of the series. So we have taken the whole series into 5 parts. So welcome back. In summary, on the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, this part of the ACGRC Series 2, we have covered introduction, background and legislative journey, trigger for creating EU AI Act, case studies on the triggers, key objectives and features of the AI Act, scope and applicability, impact and significance, risk-based classification of AI systems, definition of unacceptable risk, understood the prohibited AI systems under Chapter 2, Article 5, aware of its applicability from 2nd February 2025, case studies related to prohibited AI systems were reviewed, high risk AI systems under Chapter 3, Article 6 were reviewed, case studies that illustrated high risk AI systems were understood, risk based classification of AI systems were looked at. We understood the role of European Commission in this case. We then went in to look at high risk AI system under Chapter 3, Article 8 to 17. We understood the GPAI definition under Chapter 5. We looked at GPAI case studies and understood the concept and the base. We looked at GPAI Chapter 5, Article 51, 52 and 53. We understood why compute power is referenced in the Act, especially the Article 51. We looked at the challenges of implementing the Act. Then we went on to look at the benefit of implementing the Act. We looked at the Code of Practice, Article 56. We looked at governance, Chapter 6. Then we looked at EU AI Act implementation risk metrics as a snapshot. And last, we looked at the EU AI Act's timelines. With this, we conclude this series. Thanks for being with me. Hi, I am Savit Vittal Salian. Let's try to summarize in your BAU. If you have any query, drop me a note on the video, or you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn directly. I'll try to respond as much as possible. Again, thank you very much for being patient with me. Much appreciated. Take care and have a great day.